silence. Not the peaceful silence of victories that speak for themselves, but that uncomfortable, piercing silence that fills the locker room after a humiliating elimination. The kind of silence that clings to the walls, that weighs on the shoulders of each player as they change clothes in slow motion, avoiding eye contact. That's how the Golden State Warriors season ended. There were no shouts, no fiery speeches, just the muffled sound of cleats being taken off, towels dropping to the floor, and sighs of frustration. The team that once dominated the league was now in shambles, defeated, exposed, and worse, without answers. The elimination came quickly, a devastating 4-1 to the Minnesota Timberwolves, young, ruthless, intense. Meanwhile, on the veteran side, a question hung in the air that no one dared to ask out loud. What happened to Jimmy? He was supposed to be the rock, the emotional anchor, the war-hardened veteran who, when everything crumbled, would raise the sword and lead the younger players into battle. But that's not what was seen on the court. The truth hurt, and it didn't come from just any analyst, but from a name that carries weight, legacy, and authority: Dwyane Wade. For years, Wade was the heart of the Miami Heat, a symbol of intensity, commitment, and loyalty. When he speaks, the basketball world listens. And this time, he didn't mince words. The offense is stalling, and you're making $60 million a season. At a time like this, you can't run. You can't hide. It wasn't just a technical critique. It was a verdict, a surgical strike at the posture of a player who, according to Wade, has avoided responsibility in crucial moments. It wasn't about stats, because up to that point, Jimmy's numbers were decent. 6 rebounds, 5 assists, nearly 20 points per game. Nothing shocking, but nothing terrible either. But Wade knew what he was saying. The criticism was about absence of spirit, about moments when the figures on a contract should have translated into attitude, but all that was visible was hesitation, a gaze avoiding the rim, a body present, but a mind elsewhere. And the most brutal part, Wade wasn't theorizing. He was reliving, because he had seen it before, in Miami, when Butler also ceased to be that hungry, aggressive player who seemed willing to die on the court if needed. Instead, a pattern was repeating: passivity, conformity. When asked about Butler's departure from the Heat, Wade was direct. It was never about injury. It was about behavior, about lack of effort when he was needed the most. Now, seeing the same script unfold on another team, he couldn't hold back. He spoke, and he spoke loudly. And it's impossible to ignore. Because when a player like Wade makes this kind of statement, the impact is bigger than any headline. It's a sign that trust has been lost, that the locker room is starting to fracture, that faith in a name cannot rest solely on the past. Jimmy Butler was signed to be Stephen Curry's extension while he recovered. The plan was simple: keep the ship sailing until the captain returned. But in practice, the ship sank, and Butler didn't even try to row. There was talent on the roster, youth, fire, but the spark of leadership was missing. That's exactly what Wade pointed out. You don't have to make every shot, but you have to shoot. You have to try. You have to show you're there to fight. In the series against the Timberwolves, Jimmy hid. And Wade, with a voice full of frustration and disappointment, delivered the verdict that many within the franchise had been whispering in the hallways, but didn't have the courage to say publicly: Jimmy Butler failed. But that's only half the story. While in San Francisco, everything smells of ashes and regret, in Boston, there is another kind of unease, a silent anguish, the calm before the collapse. Because the Celtics, last season's champions, are trapped in a financial and emotional labyrinth from which they may not emerge unscathed. Jason Tatum, the face of the franchise, tore his Achilles tendon, a devastating blow, not only for the team on the court, but for the entire sustainability plan of the Celtics project, the league's largest contract, sidelined, inactive. And on the horizon, the dreaded second-level tax penalty, which threatens to crush any franchise with an inflated payroll. Now, Boston faces a cruel choice: the dilemma between maintaining a winning core or preserving the franchise's financial future. And, as always, it's the most valuable names that come up first in conversations. Drew Holiday, champion, elite defender, but aging and earning over $32 million. Kristaps Porzingis, a giant, skilled, cerebral, but physically fragile. A nearly $31 million contract about to expire. An attractive piece for anyone looking for immediate reinforcement with controlled risk. And Derek White, the name no one in Boston wants to see leave. The fan favorite, the emotional barometer of the team, a versatile, combative, intelligent guard. A player who can defend all three perimeter positions and accepts any role without complaint. And more, with a contract considered a gem behind the scenes of the league. That's why Brad Stevens' phone won't stop ringing. Among those interested, an old acquaintance, the Golden State Warriors. The idea is as bold as it is melancholic. White, wearing a Warriors jersey, alongside promising youngsters like Kuminga, Podziemski, and Moody. A new beginning for a franchise desperate for balance between present and future. A player who could be the bridge between the Curry era and what comes next. But for Boston, that would mean giving up the soul of their defense, letting go of their identity. Stevens knows it. Every choice now is a piece on an emotionally charged chessboard. The 2024 title came at a price. And perhaps that price is dismantling what took years to build. Meanwhile, behind the scenes of the league, another shadow looms. Giannis. Rumors have started to echo. Well-placed voices suggest that Golden State is preparing something big, perhaps as big as when Kevin Durant left Oklahoma for California and forever changed the course of the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the unstoppable Greek, the most physically dominant player of the modern era, joining forces with Stephen Curry. A dream for some, a nightmare for others, because building that alliance would require sacrifices, and major ones. Kuminga, Podziemski, Moody, Jackson Davis, draft picks, the entire future of the franchise. The question is inevitable. Is it worth it? And before you say yes or no, think about what's at stake. It's not just statistics, it's legacies. It's the last dance of one of the greatest players of all time. And maybe the only real chance Curry has to fight for another title before hanging up his sneakers. Meanwhile, in Boston, a trade like that would mean watching a direct rival get stronger while your own team weakens. Losing White and seeing Giannis land in San Francisco could completely redefine the balance of the league. The NBA stands on the brink of a seismic shift, and no one knows exactly when or if the next bomb will drop. But everyone can hear the ticking of the clock. It was impossible not to notice that, behind the scenes of the NBA, the tectonic plates were shifting. It wasn't just about Butler or only about White, Porzingis, or the Celtics' multi-million-dollar contracts. It was about an entire league on the verge of transformation. And, like every moment that precedes a historic turning point, the silence seemed louder than the crowd's roar. What Wade did by criticizing Butler on national television wasn't just pointing out flaws. It was opening a door, throwing wide open what many people behind the scenes had been whispering. The NBA is entering a new cycle, and this cycle has no room for half-truths. Jimmy isn't an isolated case. He's a mirror. And when you look into that mirror, you see more than a hesitant player. You see a league trying to figure out what the role of the star is in times of transition. Because the era of super teams with unsustainable salaries and rosters full of expensive veterans is dying. And that brings us back to Boston, a franchise that, even with the trophy in hand, is staring into a financial and emotional abyss. Because winning comes at a price. And in this case, the price might be the identity so patiently built. Derek White might seem like just another name, but in Boston, he became the symbol of something greater. Of a team that defends with soul, that wins without needing pyrotechnics, that builds plays with surgical precision. Trading White would be like ripping out the heart of a perfectly tuned machine. But time is cruel. Brad Stevens knows that. And he also knows that as much as Derek represents everything the Celtics would like to preserve, he might be the only piece that can truly return something of immediate value. And when the name Golden State Warriors enters the equation, everything changes, because Golden State isn't just trying to build a roster, it's trying to keep a legacy alive. The Curry era, so brilliant, is approaching its twilight, and the franchise doesn't want to accept the inevitable. It doesn't just want to survive. It wants to keep dictating the rhythm. It wants to go back to being the team everyone fears, not just respects. And that's why Derek White has become so valuable. Not because he's going to score 30 points a game, but because he understands the game. Because he knows when to push, when to slow down, when to highlight others. He's the kind of player you place next to young talent and everything around him gets better. And more importantly, he's the kind of player Stephen Curry can trust. And here's the point that ties all these stories together. Butler was brought to Golden State with a similar mission, to be the link between generations, the veteran with fire in his eyes. But instead of inspiring, he hid. He wasn't the facilitator. He wasn't the killer. And contrary to expectations, he didn't lead. Now, the franchise looks at White as the anti-Butler, the one who may not shine in the spotlight but who never disappears, who never refuses to look at the basket, who takes over the game when necessary, and above all, who keeps the team united, even in stormy moments. That's the bet, and it's not just any bet. It's a desperate move by a franchise that refuses to accept decline. But what about Boston? If they let go of White, what remains? A still strong team, true, but with defensive gaps that become obvious without him, with less voice in the locker room, with less emotional stability, with less identity. The 2024 title brought glory, but it also brought a bill to be paid, and every decision now is a delicate move on a chessboard where any mistake can cost years of relevance. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, another bomb ticks in silence. Giannis. The name whispered in the hallways of San Francisco, but carrying the potential to turn the NBA upside down. If Derek White would be the fine-tuning in the Warriors' engine, Giannis would be the nuclear fuel, a player still in his physical prime, with a champion's mentality, hungry, and with a history of carrying franchises on his back. And here lies the final dilemma. Is it worth sacrificing everything, promising young players, friendly contracts, draft picks, for a chance to pair Curry with Giannis? Because that union wouldn't just be another star partnership. It would be the last great move of a dynasty trying to escape its end. Giannis alongside Curry, speed, power, intelligence, instinct. The NBA would shake, but the risk is real. And the recent memory of when Kevin Durant arrived still lingers. Yes, it brought titles, but it also divided opinions. It cost the team depth, and in the end, it created a vacuum that was hard to fill. So the question remains, how far will you go for one more ring? Giannis may be the future, but Derek White is the certainty. And Butler, well, Butler was the bet that didn't work out. Wade knew it, felt it, saw it up close. That's why he spoke, because he understands that leadership is not something you improvise. You either have it, or you vanish in the moments when you're supposed to shine. And now, more than ever, the NBA is looking for those leaders, those who don't hide, who don't blame the system, the coach, or their teammates, those who take responsibility, who play hurt, who make mistakes, yes, but mistakes made while trying. The stage is set. Boston will have to choose between the present and the future. Golden State will have to decide whether to start fresh with youth or attempt one last strike with stars. Butler will have to look in the mirror and ask what he wants to be from now on. And Giannis, the man at the center of all the rumors, may soon choose whether he wants to be the new symbol of a dynasty or continue trying to carry Milwaukee alone. The NBA doesn't forgive hesitation, not teams, not players. And when the silence ends, when the deals are done, when the trades are finalized and the jerseys change hands, what will remain? The stories, as always, and the feeling that no matter how much you win, the next chapter is already being written. The NBA, like every elite sports league, moves in cycles. But contrary to what many believe, those cycles aren't defined solely by championships. They're defined by narratives, by characters, by moments that create cracks in time and show that something, from that point on, will never be the same again. Butler, Wade, White, Porzingis, Curry, Giannis, different names, distinct stories, but all intertwined at a turning point. And perhaps what's truly at stake now isn't just the fate of franchises, but the model of leadership that will dictate the next 5 years of the league. For more than a decade, the standard was clear. Build a team around 2 or 3 superstars, play through them, surround them with veterans, and hope the egos survive until June. It worked, until it didn't. The failure of the Brooklyn Nets with Durant, Harden, and Kyrie. The collapse of the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George. The short breath of the Lakers with LeBron and AD. All of these projects went all in, skipped the process, and died too soon. And now, quietly, the Celtics emerge as the opposite model. A team built with patience, that bet on continuity, internal growth, young coaches, and culture. A team that went to the edge of public criticism and still endured. Derek White may not be the face of Boston, but perhaps he is its soul. That's why he matters so much. Because his staying or leaving won't just be a cap transaction. It will be a message, a manifesto, a strategic statement about what kind of team the Celtics want to be after becoming champions. And that's why Brad Stevens hesitates. Even though the salary cap math points to the need for a trade, the intuition of great leaders says otherwise. Sometimes, a player's true value lies between the lines, in what he does in practice, in what he prevents in the locker room, in the silence of a well-executed play where he doesn't show up, but everything works because he was in the right spot. Trading White means trading that security, and Boston now stands at a crossroads. Follow the script the NBA expects from a champion, selling pieces while their value is high, or defy the logic, eat the financial hit, and keep the project alive. On the other side, Golden State has already made its choice. It won't accept decline passively. The possible arrival of Giannis isn't just a shot at rebirth. It's a visceral reaction to time, a refusal to accept that the end has come. Because if Curry still plays like an MVP, then the window is open, even if just a crack. But to pry open that crack, the Warriors will have to shed everything they've built since Durant left. Young players like Kuminga, Moody, Podziemski, maybe even Wiggins, all put on the scale. And this is where the tension rises. Because Giannis isn't a guaranteed prize. He's a possibility. And to get him, you have to leap into the dark, without a safety net. The league has seen this movie before. The Anthony Davis trade in 2019, which brought a title to the Lakers, and then left them barren. The arrival of Kawhi and PG to the Clippers, which didn't yield even a finals appearance. Durant himself going to the Suns, where the talent is immense, but synergy has yet to be born. Giannis in Golden State would be a spectacle, but also a test, emotional, physical, and tactical. He's never played with a point guard as dominant as Curry, never had to share offensive spotlight with someone so magnetic. It would require unlearning and relearning, surrendering to a system, and at the same time, rewriting a new one. The question is Giannis ready for that? And more than that, is Golden State ready for that? Because by letting go of the youth, the team-friendly contracts, the future, the franchise would stop being the model of sustainable rebuilding and become once again a supernova, bright, powerful, but unstable. And in the middle of all this, Jimmy Butler remains an uncomfortable reminder that not every star knows how to be a sun, that there are players who only shine in specific orbits. And sometimes you have to accept that a powerful name doesn't always mean a true presence in the moments that matter. What Dwyane Wade said wasn't just a scolding, it was a warning to the whole league. The era of romanticizing the lone alpha dog is coming to an end. Today's NBA demands more than willpower. It demands adaptation, connection, deep understanding of the collective, and that's why players like White are priceless. They don't sell jerseys, but they win games. And when everything closes, the season, the contracts, the rumors, the interviews, what's left, truly, is the final question. Who do you want to be when the spotlight goes out? A name on the banner, or the reason the banner exists? That is the real decision Boston, Golden State, Butler, Giannis, and the entire NBA must make. Not about contracts, but about legacy. Kai Sotto, at 22 years old, is already standing out in the global basketball scene. He is more than just a tall athlete. His physical and technical skills make him a very interesting prospect. With a combination of imposing size and surprising agility, the young player proves to be a threat both offensively and defensively. His presence in the paint is dominant, but it is his versatility in attack that truly catches attention, showcasing a rare combination of strength and creative skill to finish plays. However, the question is whether these qualities will be enough to guarantee his success in the NBA. The transition to the American League is a big challenge. The NBA is not like any other competition. The level of physical, technical, and mental demand is incomparable. The fast pace, the strength of the opponents, and the intensification of strategies require an extremely high adjustment level for any player. If Kai Sotto manages to secure a spot on the Golden State Warriors roster, his impact would not be limited only to his performance on the court. The Bay Area, home to the Warriors, has a large Filipino community, and Soto's arrival would be a cultural milestone, connecting Filipino fans even more intensely with the NBA and the franchise. The player would not only be an addition to the team, but an icon of pride for millions of Filipinos around the world. Imagine the energy he would bring to the Chase Center, with the Filipino crowd making themselves heard in the stands, with their vibrant and passionate support. This would be much more than just basketball. It would be a true cultural celebration. Moreover, for the Warriors, Kai's addition could expand the team's commercial horizons, especially considering the huge Asian market. Kai's popularity in the Philippines could boost the Warriors' brand reach, making it even more global. However, entering the NBA is no easy task, and Sotto would face obstacles far beyond natural talent. The league demands more than basic skills. To shine in the NBA, he will need to refine his consistency, reaction speed, physical endurance, and defensive skills. Even with his promising track record in the Japanese league, the NBA offers a level of competition where every mistake is exposed and exploited. The adaptation time will be short, and he will have to work hard to prove that he can be a valuable asset, both offensively and defensively. If Golden State does indeed decide to invest in Kai Sotto, it would be a calculated bet, but one that has the potential to transform the young player's career. The franchise has an enviable history of helping young talents develop their potential, and the opportunity to train alongside legends like Stephen Curry and Draymond Green would be a unique chance for growth. The Warriors' environment, with its focus on tactical intelligence and continuous development, could be the perfect place for Kai to hone his skills. However, the pressure of playing for the Warriors comes with the need to deliver results quickly. The team aims to win more championships, and therefore, the search for young talents must be balanced with the need to strengthen the team for immediate challenges. Every roster spot is precious, and Kai will have to prove his worth from the start. In addition to the technical and sports issues, the possible signing of Sotto also carries great cultural and market weight. The NBA has become increasingly global, and players like Kai Sotto represent a bridge between different cultures. His presence in the NBA could attract new audiences to basketball, especially in Asia, where the sport has been growing exponentially. Imagine the scene, the Chase Center, packed with Filipino fans cheering with every play of Kai. The atmosphere would be electric, with Filipino flags and an extremely engaged fan base, not only at the games but also on social media and in the official merchandise market. Kai would become not just a player, but a cultural icon. His signing would not only be a sports move, but also a marketing strategy to further increase the Warriors' popularity in Asia. If Sotto manages to overcome the initial challenges of the NBA, he could become a key part of the new generation of Warriors players. The team, with its tradition of developing great players, could provide Kai with the ideal platform to grow. However, his success will depend on his patience and persistence, two essential elements for any young player who wants to leave a lasting mark on the league. The real question is, will Kai Sotto be the missing player to complete the Golden State Warriors puzzle? He could add a strong presence in the paint, something the team has lacked in recent years, helping to face more physical opponents. His shot-blocking ability and offensive reach could be the key to strengthening the defense and enriching the team's offensive game. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any news about the Warriors. Also, turn on the bell to get notifications firsthand. See you next time.